Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for 24, Live Another Day, Episode 9. Now, of course, I was really looking forward to this episode. I'm sure a lot of us were, because, of course, in the last episode, which was the 2nd episode of the show, they made us think that President Heller killed himself. They made us think, basically, that he gave himself up and sacrificed himself for his country. That's what they made us think, and I was really looking forward to this episode as a result of that. How was this episode overall? Overall, this episode, I don't know. I liked it, but then I didn't like. The first half I really liked. The second half of this episode I really did not like. It's probably the second weakest episode of the season. I'll say that. It's not the best episode of the season. It's probably, like, I'd say, like, the third to second weakest. It was not the best episode. But let's just get this episode, because overall I did enjoy it. It was just a weak episode. So basically, it's 7 p.m. and it's 7 p.m. in London, and smoke arises from the arena and where the president lost his life. And Davis watches. He's very upset. Audrey's in tears, of course, because, you know, that's her father. And Mark is devastated. And PM Davis tells them to turn it off and tells Audrey her father was very courageous. Her father was courageous and a dear friend. He says the sacrifice was an act of bravery the British will never forget. And Audrey stares at Mark, side-traps him, and walks away. So Davis's assistant says they have to hope Margot will keep her word, and the news talks about the missile. Ritter asks why Margot would fire a missile at an empty stadium, and she says that the president was there and was the target. And Navarro says that's impossible, and Kate says Jack broke him out and escorted him there as his request. And pretty much we find out that President Heller's not dead, it seems. Kate says it looks like Margot's keeping her end of the agreement and destroying the drones. And Ian says there's just one drone left and asks his mother if she's sure. And she says since Heller kept his word, they must as well. Sends into a dive. He says Mahmoud is looking down on her from above. And she says he's looking down on them from all. And says he gave their lives purpose. She says she wishes he was alive to see this day. Ian watched the video of Heller right before he died, and he sees that something's not right. He says, like, Heller's on, like, a continuous loop. Like, him walking into the field is on, like, a continuous loop, and they don't know what's going on. He says, Heller must still be alive. So, Heller's actually not dead. Now, how do I feel about Heller not being dead? Honestly, I feel it's a cop-out because they didn't want people to think he was dead. I feel like it was a cop-out. I think that it would have been a little more effective if he was dead, so it'd be, like, they're doing this, like, as revenge for killing Heller. But honestly, he wasn't dead. I thought it was well done, but I just thought it was kind of a stupid twist overall. So Heller says he shouldn't have let him take the hit. Jack says he couldn't let it happen and says they can still get to her, and she has just one drone left. Belichick pulls up, and Heller says they need to go to the presidential quarters. Jack says he has to stay dark so Margot won't come after him, and Heller says he's done listening to him, but Jack tells him to get in the car and let him do what he knows to do. Of course, he's very, like, he doesn't know what to do because this was all Jack's idea, to take him out and everything. That was all Jack's idea. Heller wanted to die. Heller was planning on giving himself up to his country, but Jack at the last moment said, no, this is not what's happening. I'm not letting you die. And Heller really doesn't know what to do. He's kind of in the dark about this. So Jack tells Belichick no phones or other communications, leaves with the president. Heller asks for his phone so he can call Secret Service. And Belichick says Jack said no phones. Heller says he's the president of the United States, and Belichick says he's not an American and this is not the United States. So Jack calls Kate and asks to be connected to the president's staff. She patches them through, and crowds of people are swarming out of London. It's literally so crazy here. Davis is still there when Jack addresses him. He tells her that her dad is still alive, and she's floored. She's very surprised. Audrey is so surprised that her dad is still alive. And they tricked Margot. And he says she took 5 hours and has one left that's headed back to London, and Audrey asks what the target is, and he says he doesn't know. He says Chole is sending information, the RAF should try to intercept it. And Mark says that the Secret Service can bring Heller in, but Jack says it's not safe because Margot is likely monitoring channels, and Navarro says they have the drone feed. So Kate asks the tech to trace the signal and says Jordan would be better for it. Kate is worried about Jordan's disappearance, but Navarro says that's his problem and tells her to go. Ian says he's got the president and knows he's alive. Yes, who he is. And Margot says it's Bauer, a former CTU agent. And Margot says she should have known she shouldn't have trusted a liar like Heller. And Ian says he can still track Heller from when he left the stadium, but she says she wants him alive to see what his cowardice has caused. She wants him to stay alive. So Jack tells Chloe he's circling, and she says there are 3 towers the signal is bouncing off of, and says she's somewhere in Hackney. She says she can try something and we'll call him back. Chloe calls Adrian and asks for help to stop the drone. Adrian says there is nothing they can do. She says she wouldn't be helping Jack, he'd be helping her. She tells him that she needs to pinpoint the location more precisely, and Adrian says he has a new GPS hack that works on the Navstar satellite, and she says she'll send the data and agrees to help. She says it's working, and he asks if she's sure that this is a good cause. It's now 7:20 p.m., and she tells Jack it's Tunnel House in an office building, and he's going to land right on the roof, and Kate says she sees it. The drone is closing on London. Audrey and the presidential staff watch the feed. Jack exchanged shots with guards on the roof, and he takes out several and is on an alarm. Really intense shit going down here. And on the street, Kate tells Rittler that she needs a grenade. They struggle to get closer to the box. Pull up in the car. Kate steps out to lob the grenade, but they back away to avoid the explosion. The lights go out, and Ian tells his mother they have 5 minutes to go. Locks in the Waterloo Stadium coordinates. Chloe was able to find them and says he's on the 5th floor. And Chloe says they don't have long. The presidential staff sees that step for Waterloo Stadium. Audrey calls for an immediate evacuation. Chloe says they are 3 minutes before the drone can fire. Fights his way up the stairs. Outside, Kate calls for cover and heads for the entrance. And Ian, in the meantime, is working furiously and completing the target. He says they have to go now. Margot says they can't go until it's done. Margot tells him she loves him. She says to remember that no matter what happens, Jack pulls electrical cords loose on the roof, and he prepares to use them to go down the side of the Bulldog. And Kate and Rittler and the other agents exchange fire with Margot's guards, and Jack reports down the side of the building using the cables. So Audrey and the others watch the feeds and the people running from the stadium, and Ian sees Jack and fires right through the windows. Jack moves out of range, and throws him out and he shoots Margot, goes down. Jack asks what he can do. Chloe says he has to divert the trajectory, and he tells them he has Margot in custody. He changes the missile's course, and it blows up in the Thames. There is applause in the presidential quarters. Margot tells him that he thinks he may have won, but he didn't. She says there are deaths on his head, and he says only this one. Throws her out the window. Handcuffs still on, and she splatters. So, and of course, the last of them expire. And basically, Audrey paces, and Heller's in the car with Belchuk. He asks his name, and he says it's just one word like Madonna. They see police out in force, and Belchuk pulls over and lets Heller out the presidential quarters. Heller comes into the building, and Audrey goes into him and holds him tight. Really touching father and daughter reunion. Very touching there. So they hug it out to. Mark hugs him and says that Jack called and said Ian and Margot are dead, and Jack has the device. So Ian and Margot are now dead. Wow, I did not expect that. I thought Margot was going to be the central villain of the season, but apparently no. So he takes a call, and Heller says he's back and safe and sound. He thanks him for looking out for him, and Jack says it was his honor. Jack says they are headed back with the device to analyze it, and the general says he's sending it to escort him. So Kate's contact friend tells her he's got 2 bodies, and one of them is actually Jordan. And he asks if she knows him, and she asks what happened. Of course, we know that Jordan was attacked last week. So Kate calls Navarro and tells him that Jordan is dead. He feigns shock, and she says that they are going to the crime scene now. Navarro asks why he was out there, and she says there are 2 bodies, and he asks who he was with, and she says she'll call when she has more information. Gavin hears him say Jordan and asks what it's about, but Navarro says not now. Navarro then goes to his secure phone, calls Adrian. Navarro says the police found the analyst's body and another operative that can be traced back to him. And Adrian... Adrian... Gavin hears him and says Jordan asks what it's about, but Navarro says not now. Navarro goes back to... Okay. Adrian says he's just the middleman, but Navarro says he needs help getting out of there and needs cash and a new ID. Adrian says it will cost him. He wants the drone override device. Navarro asks why he wants it, but Adrian won't tell him why he wants it. So Jack tells the CIA he's 5 minutes out with the device. Kate shows up to the Camden crime scene. She and Ritter confirm that it's Jordan that's dead. Kate is very upset. The cop explains what happened and says there's a blood trail. He says Jordan was shot somewhere else and then was followed. They struggled and he was stabbed. And, basically, The cop says there's no ID on the body and not even any labels on his clothes, and he goes to take a call, and Ritter asks what Jordan was into. And Chloe steps out of the bar, her phone rings, and it's Jack, and he says he wants her to look at the device. Chloe says she's not coming, though. She says Margot's dead, and it's not a problem anymore. She says it was good to see him like old times, and she says she hopes to get back to see his family soon. So she disconnects the call and gets in the car with Adrian, thanks her, and she says for what, and he says for another chance. So Chloe's done helping Jack, so that's a pretty big thing. Chloe's done helping Jack, and because she thinks it's all good now. So Jack brings the device in, and Navarro asks if that's it. Jack says General Coburn is sending an analyst. He's there, and Jack says it has to be locked down tight. Jack asks where Kate is. They tell him she's gone to check on a dead agent. Jack asks if it's related to Margot and Navarro. He says he doesn't, and Navarro says he doesn't know. Jack calls Kate, and she says the guy who killed Jordan had no idea. By the way, what the fuck happened to Simone? We don't know what happened to Simone. She was not even in this episode. His fingerprints come up as an O code, and Jack says he's a professional killer, an operative, and they wonder what's up. Navarro overhears, and Jack says he's sending the fingerprints to a guy at Langley, and Navarro says he can have it done there. So Navarro is sweating bullets, and Jack is running the prints. He said the program is still running. Navarro stands close, tries listening. He says he'll call Jack back. The analyst says the device can break into any defense firewall, and it says it's not about the drones. Jack gets a call from Audrey. She thanks him, and he says a lot of people were helping. And Audrey says she's thanking him for not letting her father sacrifice himself. Gets a call, says he'll find her as soon as he can. Navarro watches but can't hear Jack. When Jack is out of sight, Navarro puts the analyst in a chokehold, takes him out, grabs a canvas bag, packs up the device. Jack's guy says the killer was James Harden, an assassin who was removed from the program. Jack asks what he worked for, and the most recent handler is Steve Navarro. Jack goes off running and sees that Navarro's gone, pulls his gun. Navarro tells the guard there has been a security breach and tells the guard to lock it down, not let anyone though. Jack is close behind and tells the guy if he makes a sound, he'll kill him. Knocks him out, goes through the door, pursues Navarro, who sees him, fires some shots. Jack is hot on his heels, and Navarro went out through a back door, then up a tunnel, and he runs up the device as hard as he can. Jack tries to catch up. Jack kicks open the door. Navarro's way down the street, and he's lost him completely out of his sight. So Navarro is now his main target now. So Audrey's bandaging her dad's wounds. Mark is working, and Adrian pulls over, and Chloe hops out and says she'll be right back. Navarro calls Adrian and says he has it but wants to know why he wants it. But he won't tell him. And Adrian says meet him in Pinsley Square. Chloe comes back to the car, kisses Adrian, says he has to meet a friend, and they pull out. So Adrian and Chloe are now together. So yeah, this was a good episode. Was it as good as last week? No, it was not as good as last week. In fact, I think it might be probably the second weakest episode of the season. Yes, the whole thing is done, but I feel like it was done too early because now I'm not as interested anymore in the show. But there are a couple things. One, is Chloe going to help Jack with this new Navarro thing? Now she's not helping him, so is he going to contact her? We'll have to see what happens there. 2, Jack's all by himself now, so we'll have to see what happens. 2, what's also going to happen with Navarro? We'll have to see what happens there with Navarro. Audrey and Heller, we'll have to see what happens there. But overall, this episode was good. I thought it was a good episode. Was it the best episode of the season? No, not really. I thought the first half, yes, it was. But the second half, no, not really. That's been my review. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the season premiere of Teen Wolf. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.